So my own personal memory just came to mind, and Spirit is saying that they want you to also be reminded of a time such as mine. And this is a part of my story. So there was a time a decade ago. I can't believe it was that long ago. But my daughter was 5 at the time, and I was taking her to Head Start. And that's before kindergarten. And I didn't have a vehicle at the time, so I would take her on the bus in the morning, like the public transportation, and I would take her to Head Start, get back on the bus, and go about my business. Now, one day I was on my way to go get my child. I didn't have her yet. I didn't pick her up yet, I should say. And this woman, she was just looking at me. It wasn't in like a way to where I would think that she has a problem with me or anything like that, but she was just looking at me attentively with this discernment on her face. And she had glasses. I remember exactly how she looked. She was dark skinned, and she had long hair, and her glasses were thick, like she had bifocals on. But she wasn't like an old woman. She was probably in her late 30s or so. And she began to speak to me. She said, "There's something about you." And I'm just listening to her. I was like, "Really? What?" And she said, "I prophesy. I'm a prophet." And she said, "You are going to do something very special." She said, "One day, you are going to help people to hear that cannot hear. And you are going to help people to see that cannot see. You have a calling over your life." Mind you, I have never spoke to this woman. I never saw her before. I never spoke to her before. And she was just speaking to my soul, right? And at the time, I wasn't who I am today. Okay, I wasn't thinking like I think. I had a lot more work to do, at that time. And I hadn't done it yet. And so it was like, I didn't understand what she meant. I was out, and she just so happened to be someone who was deaf herself. So, how deaf people speak because they can't hear themselves speak. So there's like almost like not a delay, but their words sound a bit lazy when they come out of their mouth because they can't hear themselves. And so that's when I realized that she was deaf, and she told me that she was deaf. I could tell though because how she spoke, and she was explaining to me that she actually works with deaf children herself. So when she was, prophesying over me the way she was and looking at me so attentively with a smirk and just like smiling at me, and I was like, that was weird. After it was done, I was like, that was different. That had never happened to me before. And it stuck with me. She said, "Believe me when I tell you, you're going to remember me. You're going to remember this moment when you begin to do God's work because it is all over you." She didn't see me speak to nobody. She didn't watch me do anything. I was quiet. And she just began to speak to me. And I just say that to say that is a moment that she was right. I could not forget that because it was so out of the box for me that, especially at that time, my mind was not where it is today. I was not as deep. I've always been a believer, but my mindset was not as deep as it is now. It was not as perceptive as it is now. And she was right. That day stuck with me. I did not forget. Okay. And She spoke to me about my future. She definitely did. I cannot take that away from her. But like I was saying, when she said that, I was like, am I going to help blind people? Like, is that what she means? And I didn't even want to interrupt her as she was speaking because I didn't want to mess nothing up. Because I was trying to hear what she had to say. I was trying to make sure I was catching her words correctly as well. And I was like, I was thinking too literal. I was thinking that she was saying I was actually going to work with blind people and individuals who are deaf. You know? And she was talking about how she's deaf and she works with deaf children. So that's what I was thinking, but it wasn't as literal as I thought. I was thinking like literally someone with a disability of being blind or a disability of being deaf and cannot hear. But it was a spiritual thing she was telling me about. She was telling me that I was going to help people see spiritually. She didn't say that out of her mouth, but now I look back at that day and I realize that she meant people who are spiritually blind and people who are spiritually deaf and cannot hear. That's what she meant. And that experience I had with that woman on that bus that I've never seen again, that was the first and last time I ever seen that woman. It's kind of like how the Bible was for me on my journey when I began to read it, to begin my journey of gaining understanding with God on my own. There's so many scriptures that I had read, and when I first read it, I didn't know what it meant, and it would frustrate me. I didn't know what. I was confused. However, over time, the more that I would allow the word to reach my soul, it's like over time, I began to decode what I was reading. Because you can't just read it at face value. You have to think from a different lens. Like you have to think abstract. You have to be able to think in multiple ways to understand when it comes to reading the Bible. And that's the same energy I had gotten from this woman. So I say all that to say, Spirit placed that memory on my heart just now so that I could remind you or help you to be reminded of or jog your memory of a time when someone prophesied over you before you got to where you are today. And not to say that you are exactly where you want to be, not to say that there's not more that you want to accomplish. That's not the point of this exercise. It is for you to recognize the awesomeness, I want to say. And I don't usually say that, but recognize the awesomeness of a prophet, of someone who speaks truth to you, even if you didn't know it was necessarily truth, or even if you didn't necessarily understand it when they spoke to you, because there's something within that memory that you're meant to analyze, and you're meant to use it now. And only you and whoever else knows you and whoever else you shared this experience with will know about whatever it is that you're meant to remember. For some of you, it could be someone that passed away. I just felt that energy come over me. It could be definitely someone that passed away for many of you. Told you something about yourself that you didn't see. And now you are that. You are what you thought you were not, and you were confused as to what they were talking about because you didn't see it. They saw it on you, but you didn't see it within yourself. There's something here that's powerful here about you that you're meant to remember. And it's just going to solidify like the power of spirit, the power of patience, and the power of reflection. Okay, so allow your memory to be jogged because Spirit wants you to remember a special moment or various moments, because you could be someone where multiple people at different phases in your life may have spoken over your life and told you something about yourself that you didn't see. Like maybe a time where you were thinking small, but someone saw you in a bigger light. You are more illuminated than what you thought you were before. It's something like that, because the Spirit is basically telling me that's why they just gave me that memory, to help you to remember the memory when someone prophesied over your life. And it's just going to strengthen your belief in the unseen. Okay, that's what this message is about, to strengthen your belief in the unseen. So that's it for this message. If it resonates, let me know. Drop it down in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one.